I'm going to run through a range of energy sources, and for each you need to know at least one advantage and one disadvantage. Starting with solar power. Well, it is a renewable energy source, meaning it won't run out, and once in production it is easy and cheap to maintain. It's easy to set up small-scale supplies, for instance for road signs, individual houses, etc. And it can be incorporated into walls and roofs of buildings, so producing little visual pollution. There are no fuel costs and no atmospheric pollution when the solar power is in operation. Disadvantages. It is expensive to produce. It is not reliable. When the sun isn't shining, you don't get power. We need a large area of solar panels to get a significant amount of energy due to the low efficiency. Wind power. Well, the wind is a renewable energy resource, meaning it won't run out. Once built, the wind turbines are easy and cheap to maintain, if located on the land. Increasingly, wind turbines are being located out at sea, and this will make maintenance more difficult, and therefore more expensive. There are no fuel costs and no atmospheric pollution in operation, though with all these systems we also have to consider the environmental effects of building the system in the first place. Disadvantages. Well, there is visual and noise pollution, though this would be less of a problem if the wind turbines are located out at sea. They're not reliable. If it isn't windy, there's no power. There are limited possible sites. We need sites that have significant amounts of wind and where there will be little or no objection to the siting of wind turbines. Wave power. Advantages. Again, it is a renewable energy resource, meaning it won't run out. There are no fuel costs and no atmospheric pollution in operation. Disadvantages. Well, clearly wave power will be out at sea, so then you have the problem of getting the electrical energy onto the land where it is wanted. It is not reliable. No waves, no power. There are limited possible sites at which we could put a wave power station. Tidal power. Again, this is a renewable energy resource. Though if asked in an exam for an advantage, it's probably better to give an advantage which is more specific to the particular energy source that you're talking about. Again, there are no fuel costs and no atmospheric pollution once built and the site is in operation. It can regulate estuary levels, which could help boating and help leisure. And tidal power is reliable. We always get tides, they're just not always at the times we might want them. Disadvantages. Well, a tidal power station can have a huge effect on the ecosystems, particularly on wading birds. It is not always producing power when we want it, and there are limited possible sites. Hydroelectric power. Another renewable energy resource, and again no fuel costs and no atmospheric pollution in operation. It can create lakes which could be useful as a leisure facility, and it is reliable. Disadvantages. It can have a huge effect on ecosystems. We need to flood a whole valley to build a hydroelectric power station. There are limited possible sites. You need a steep-sided valley across which you can build a dam. The hydroelectric power stations, due to the type of site needed, are often a long way from large populations, which means we need to transfer the energy over long distances. pumped storage power stations. They are reliable in that they can produce energy when we want it, as long as there is water in the upper reservoir. They can provide energy at very short notice, in a matter of seconds. They are an efficient way of storing energy, and though we're not storing electricity directly, we are storing water with gravitational potential energy, from which we can produce electricity at will. They do require energy from another source to pump the water back up, and they actually take more electricity to pump the water back up than they produce as the water comes down again. They are very costly to build. They provide a limited supply of energy, in that when the upper reservoir is empty, they stop producing energy.